Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. The world's largest penis belongs to. That's what the title said, right? That's what brought you here. You clicked it. You didn't scroll past. Maybe you laughed. Maybe you rolled your eyes. Maybe you thought, what the hell is this? But you still clicked. And that says something. Because you were curious. You were intrigued. You wanted to know who, right? You were expecting a name, a number, a record, something sensational. But let's stop right there. Because this isn't about that, it never was. This is about the fact that we live in a world obsessed with size, obsessed with status, obsessed with attention, and you know what? That obsession is stealing your life. You're spending your time measuring the wrong things, measuring how many people follow you, how many people like your posts, how much money you have, how many people approve of you, how you compare to everyone else, how much you weigh, how attractive you are, how successful you look. And for some of you, yes, even how big your penis is, or your muscles, or your paycheck, or your body, or your car. But let me tell you something nobody else is going to say. None of that means a damn thing if you don't like yourself. None of it matters if you're not proud of the person you are becoming. None of it makes you powerful if you're still hiding from your potential, the size that actually matters, the size of your courage, the size of your discipline, but the size of your dreams, the size of the risks you're willing to take. The size of the pain you're willing to endure in order to grow. The size of your ability to get back up every single time life knocks you down and you feel like quitting. You clicked this video because of a joke, but I'm telling you the truth. You don't need a bigger anything. You need to get real with yourself. The reason you're not where you want to be is not because you're missing something. It's because you keep chasing the wrong things. You're chasing attention instead of chasing growth. You're chasing comfort instead of chasing challenge. You're chasing people's approval instead of your own damn respect. Confidence doesn't come from what you own or how you look. Oh, it comes from what you choose to do every single day. Confidence is built through actions, not admiration. Through repetition, not recognition. You think other people are better than you. No, they just started. They showed up. They kept going. They stopped making excuses and started making progress. While you were busy scrolling and comparing, they were building something. While you were doubting yourself, they were failing forward. While you were waiting for the perfect moment, they were creating momentum. And let me be really honest with you, there is no perfect moment. Nobody is going to come rescue you. Nobody is coming to push you. Nobody is going to magically show up and say, it's time. You are the only one who can decide to take your life seriously. And I get it. You're scared. You're tired. You're insecure. You failed before. You've been judged. You've been rejected. Welcome to being human. But here's the thing. Your pain is not your punishment. It's your power. Your past doesn't define you. Your fears don't own you, and your worth is not determined by how you compare to anyone else. It's determined by how you treat yourself when nobody's watching, by the promises you keep to yourself, by whether or not you're willing to show up when it's uncomfortable, when it's inconvenient, when it's hard. You want to feel proud of yourself, then start acting like someone who's worth being proud of. You want to change your life? Then stop entertaining garbage that keeps you small. Stop chasing cheap dopamine. Stop waiting for the stars to align. Get up. Move. Try, fail, adjust, repeat. You want to know who's powerful. The person who doesn't let fear drive the car. The person who makes the call, even with a shaking voice. The person who sets boundaries, even when it's awkward. The person who works on themselves when no one is clapping. The person who falls apart and still gets up and shows up the next day. That's power. That's strength. That's what matters. This world has enough fake confidence. It has enough filters. It has enough surface level success. You know what it needs? People who are real. People who are willing to do the work. People who take responsibility. People who stop blaming and start building. People who don't need to prove anything to anyone but themselves. So maybe this video started as a joke, but it ends as a challenge. The challenge is simple. Grow something that actually matters. Grow your character. Grow your consistency. Grow your self-respect. Grow your ability to take action when it's hard. Grow your willingness to face the truth about how you're living your life. The world's largest penis. Who cares? The world's largest potential. That belongs to the person who chooses to rise. That belongs to the one who stops running from their own greatness. That belongs to the one who decides today is the day they stop playing small and start acting big in the ways that matter. Not in size, but in heart, in purpose, in action, in grit. So stop asking who it belongs to and start asking yourself, am I showing up like the person I know I can be? Because no one can give you permission to change your life. That power has always been yours, and it still is right now. You ready? Go earn it. Stop measuring the wrong things. We live in a world that trains us, almost from birth, to measure our worth using external metrics. We're taught to look at numbers, rankings, sizes, followers, likes, and salaries as if they define who we are. And it's not subtle, it's everywhere. In school, we measure intelligence by test scores. In social media, we measure value by engagement. In relationships, we often measure success by appearances or attention. We've become addicted to quantifying our lives in ways that ultimately don't fulfill us or move us forward. The problem is, these measurements are shallow. They don't capture your effort, your resilience, your character, or your growth. They don't tell the story of the nights you kept going when no one saw. They don't reflect how many times you got back up after failing. And they definitely don't show how hard you're trying to become a better version of yourself. You can have millions of followers and still feel alone. You can drive a luxury car and still feel insecure. You can have the biggest muscles in the room and still feel small on the inside. Measuring yourself by these surface level markers disconnects you from what actually matters. It feeds a constant need for validation and comparison, both of which are endless and exhausting. There's always someone with more. More money, more beauty, more recognition. If that's your scoreboard, you'll never feel like you're winning. Real growth, the kind that changes your life, can't be measured in likes, inches, or dollars. It's measured in your ability to show up when it's hard, in your willingness to try again after failure, in how you treat people when no one's watching, in the quiet promises you keep to yourself. But these metrics aren't flashy. They don't get you applause. And that's why most people ignore them. There's a massive difference between what the world praises and what actually builds a meaningful life. External measurements are often about performance. Internal growth is about identity. When you constantly measure yourself by what's visible to others, you disconnect from your inner compass. You forget to ask, am I proud of who I am? Am I aligned with my values? Am I making decisions based on my truth or someone else's expectations? The hardest part is that measuring the wrong things feels productive. It feels like you're staying in control, like you're striving. But it's an illusion. You're just staying distracted. You're pouring energy into things that change constantly and rarely satisfy you for long. That's why even when you hit the goal, get the body, the car, the number, you still feel the itch, the emptiness, the quiet voice asking, is this it? When you stop measuring the wrong things, you're forced to face what you've been avoiding, the silence, the discomfort, the truth. It's easier to chase external wins than it is to do the deep, invisible work of real personal growth, but that deep work is the only thing that actually changes you from the inside out. Confidence comes from action, not appearance. Most people believe confidence is something you're either born with or something that magically shows up once you look a certain way, earn a certain amount of, or get approval from others. We've been sold the idea that if we can just fix how we look, how we sound, or how we present ourselves, then we'll finally feel confident. So we invest time, money, and energy into our appearance. We buy new clothes, fix our hair, go to the gym, whiten our teeth, filter our faces, and still we don't feel good enough because confidence isn't a look, it's a pattern of behavior. Confidence is built through action, through repetition, through doing the things you're afraid of. It's created in the uncomfortable moments when you show up anyway. When your hands are shaking and your voice is unsure, but you speak up. When you feel insecure but take the first step. That's when confidence is built, not when you're flawless, but when you're courageous despite the fear. The problem is we've confused confidence with perfection. We think it comes after we fix ourselves, when in reality, it's something we build by doing the work before we feel ready. It doesn't show up all at once. It comes brick by brick, every time you take action instead of hiding. Every time you follow through on a commitment. Every time you honor your word to yourself, even if nobody notices. People who seem confident aren't necessarily the best looking, the smartest, or the most qualified. They're usually the ones who've taken the most action. They've built trust with themselves through repeated effort. They've failed and survived it. They've been uncomfortable so many times that the fear loses its grip. What looks like confidence from the outside is really just the result of doing something scary enough times that it becomes normal. You don't need more compliments. You need more reps, more showing up, more doing the hard thing, more starting before you're ready. Confidence doesn't come from standing in front of a mirror and saying affirmations. It comes from taking messy, imperfect action and realizing you didn't fall apart. It comes from looking fear in the face and moving anyway. The reason most people don't feel confident is because they've made a habit of avoiding what scares them. They talk themselves out of things. They overthink. They procrastinate. They wait until they feel ready. And the longer they wait, the more intimidating it becomes. Then they say, I'm just not a confident person, as if it's a personality trait they were born without. But confidence isn't fixed. It's flexible. It grows or shrinks based on your behavior, not your DNA. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act while fear is present. It's not about controlling how others see you. It's about proving to yourself over and over again that you can rely on you. And the only way to do that is to take action, especially when you don't feel like it. Your potential is bigger than your fear. Fear is natural. It's part of being human. It's the mind's way of trying to keep you safe, to protect you from failure, judgment, rejection, or discomfort. But the problem is, fear doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a new opportunity. It reacts the same way to a tiger in the wild as it does to a job interview, a difficult conversation, or a bold new idea. Fear is loud, urgent, and convincing, but it's not always right. Most people never tap into even a fraction of their potential because they let fear call the shots. They assume that fear is a sign to stop, to pull back, to wait. But fear isn't a stop sign. It's a signal. It shows up when you're about to do something important, of something uncertain, something that stretches you. And that's exactly where your potential lies, on the other side of that stretch. You weren't born afraid of speaking, failing, or being seen. That was learned through experience, conditioning, criticism, embarrassment, and moments where you tried and it didn't go well. Over time, fear built a case against your growth. It became the voice that says, don't risk it. You're not ready, or you're not good enough. That voice might be familiar, but it doesn't speak the truth of who you are. Your potential is not limited to the size of your comfort zone. Inside you, there are ideas unspoken, strengths unexplored, and talents unexpressed. There are goals you haven't touched because fear told you not to try. There are people you haven't met, opportunities you haven't reached for, and dreams you've put on a shelf, not because they're impossible, but because fear talked you out of even beginning. But fear cannot shrink your potential. It can only shrink your willingness to access it. You don't have to wait for fear to go away to take action. You just have to decide which voice you're going to follow, the one that keeps you safe or the one that pushes you to grow. Potential doesn't reveal itself all at once. It's uncovered in layers, one courageous step at a time. You won't see the full picture from where you're standing now, but you're not supposed to. That's why fear feels so strong. It wants certainty, and potential doesn't give that. It gives possibilities, not guarantees. Fear loves patterns. It wants you to stay where things are predictable. But your potential thrives in discomfort. It grows every time you speak, when your voice shakes, show up when you'd rather disappear, or try when failure feels likely. The more you move through fear, the smaller it gets, and the more of your potential you unlock. Your body might feel nervous. Your hands might sweat. Your thoughts might race. But fear's presence doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. More often than not, it means you're getting closer to something real, something meaningful, something that matters. Nobody is coming to save you. It's one of the hardest truths to accept, but also one of the most liberating. From a young age, many people are conditioned to believe that someone will come along and fix everything, that eventually a mentor, a partner, a parent, a boss, or some higher authority will step in and finally give them the break they need. It's comforting to believe that help is just around the corner. That maybe if you wait long enough, something or someone will arrive to lift the weight, solve the problem, make the choice, or hand you the success you've been waiting for. But nobody is coming, not in the way you think. Nobody is going to knock on your door and say, hey, I see you've been stuck. Let me do this for you. Nobody is going to live your life, make your moves, heal your pain, or do your work. This is your responsibility. And while that may sound harsh, it's also the moment you reclaim your power. Because the truth is, waiting is easy. Waiting gives you an excuse. It lets you say, I can't move forward until someone helps me, or I just need someone to believe in me. But if you're always waiting for external permission, you'll live your whole life paused. Nobody is going to give you the confidence, the motivation, or the plan. You have to build it from within. You have to decide that even without the applause, the roadmap, or the support, you're still going to start. The idea that someone else is more capable of leading your life than you are is a lie. There is no expert who understands your dreams better than you. No coach, no guru, no friend can do what only you can do. They can guide, encourage, and support, but they cannot save. Saving implies taking the weight off your shoulders and carrying it for you. But growth comes from carrying it yourself, struggling through it, and realizing you're strong enough to handle more than you thought. Most people avoid responsibility not because they're lazy, but because they're afraid. If no one comes to save you, then it's on you. If you fail, it's on you. If you quit, it's on you. But that's where the power is. Owning it means you're no longer powerless. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances or other people's decisions. You don't have to wait for life to get easier, more perfect, or more fair. You just have to decide that you're going to show up anyway. Taking responsibility doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means accepting that your life is your job, your healing, your habits, your dreams, your goals. That's your work. You can get help along the way, but the decision to change starts and ends with you. Blaming others, waiting for approval, hoping for rescue. None of that moves you forward. The only thing that does is action, your action. Grow what actually matters: discipline, courage, and self-respect. In a world obsessed with outcomes, appearances, and external achievements, it's easy to overlook the internal foundations that truly hold a successful life together. People chase status, attention, validation, and temporary pleasure, believing those things will bring fulfillment. But they often find that even after achieving what they thought they wanted, the emptiness remains. That's because what actually sustains growth, confidence, and real success isn't how things look, it's who you're becoming in the process. And that becoming is built on three things: discipline, courage, and self-respect. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's showing up when motivation has disappeared. It's choosing long-term value over short-term comfort. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not the kind of thing you post on social media. It happens in the quiet, in the routine, in the repetition. It's waking up early, sticking to your word, doing the reps, following through. Discipline builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. The more you do the hard thing, the more you trust yourself. The more you trust yourself, the more unstoppable you become. Courage is feeling fear and taking action anyway. It's not about being fearless, it's about not letting fear stop you. Courage lives in the small decisions, the ones nobody sees, sending the message, speaking the truth, starting the thing that might not work. Courage is not loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, do it anyway. And every time you choose courage over comfort, you stretch, you expand your limits. You create proof that you can do things you once thought were impossible, and that proof stays with you. Self-respect is built by the way you treat yourself. Not when life is easy, but when it's hard. It's saying no to what drains you. It's walking away from what disrespects you. It's holding your standards even when people push against them. You earn your own respect through your choices by doing the right thing, not the easy thing. Self-respect isn't given, it's built through boundaries, integrity, and personal accountability. The more you keep the promises you make to yourself, the more grounded and clear you become. These three qualities, discipline, courage, and self-respect, are not innate. They are grown like muscles. And just like muscles, they only grow when tested, when challenged, when stretched past their comfort zone. You don't develop discipline by talking about routines. You build it by showing up. You don't develop courage by waiting for the fear to pass. You build it by walking into fear. You don't develop self-respect by reading about boundaries. You build it by setting them and enforcing them, even when it's uncomfortable. Focusing on external success without growing these internal strengths is like building a house on sand. It might look good for a while, but it won't last. What actually matters is who you are when no one is watching, what you choose when it's hard, and how you treat yourself when things fall apart.